From the KUAM Podcast Network, this is Rlene Live, with conversation on island issues facing Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands. Now, here's Rlene.
Hafa day, everyone. This is Arlene Steffy, the host of Rlene Live on the KUAM Podcast Network. Today's show is going to feature an interview I conducted on April 9, 2002 as a talk show host at K57 Radio. What makes this an interesting interview is that Lucia Hill had been an exotic dancer on Guam at the time she decided to pursue her master's. And we often hear about how many of these exotic dancers dance because the money's good. Many of them do it to pursue a degree. It really was that way with Anna. And then I decided, now that I'm a podcast host with the KUAM Podcast Network, this would be a nice opportunity to catch up with Anna and find out what she's doing after 17 years. So part one is a partial interview of Anna in April 2002, and the reason it's partial is I believe it was a bit of a shock that I brought on an exotic dancer to the show, and I honestly believe that the board operator forgot to turn on the recorder until the second half of the program. You will only be listening to a portion of that interview, but there's enough there that you can enjoy the program, and of course we will include the callers to the show. Part two of the program with Lucia Hill would be a catch-up on what she's doing today, and I think you'll enjoy this show. So here we go. This is part one with Lucia Hill.
Or some guy, always brought a guy with you, and there's no touching, nothing, there has to be a certain distance, and it has to be a party of 6 or more. And so it was very easy, actually. The first party that I did was for a group of cops, and I think there was exactly 6 of them. It was a party of 6. I was so lucky that time. And when I walked in, I was kind of nervous, and the cops were kind of nervous too. He said,
I'd say.
He said to me, "Ma'am, can you just try to be, you just don't have to go crazy. Just dance a little bit, don't get out of hand." And I wasn't ready to go, to go
get out of hand.
Far. Yeah.
When he said get out of hand, what exactly did he mean?
I'm not exactly sure. The times that I danced in the States, I never had any problems with anybody. There wasn't really any uncomfortable situations. I didn't dance too much, though. It was only for a period of maybe 4 months. Maybe twice a month.
While you were in college?
While I was in college.
Yeah. Now, the attitude of the individuals in the States toward dancing nude or performing in groups, how did they treat you? What sort of manner did they treat you in that respect?
While I was dancing?
Mm-hmm. How did they treat you? I mean, you walk into a room, and how do they act around you?
Well, people have different behaviors. Some of them are kind of quiet, and they're just sort of watching the whole thing and watching the other people watching the show. People watching people. People. And then some people are just, expressive and...
expressive, like catcalls and...
Oh, yes. Sometimes. And, some of them are more, enterprising in the bargaining process. And
you need to explain that to us.
Like they would offer you about $20 to $50 to stay longer, or to remove the bottom of your clothing, because it was only required to be topless.
I see.
It was only topless.
You've never been totally nude then?
I've never been totally nude in Florida. The first time I danced on a stage for money totally nude was on Guam. Actually, it was in Saipan, but it wasn't officially dancing. I just got on stage because some of the dancers let me. So they dressed me up and got me on stage in Saipan. But that was before I started dancing in Guam.
For real?
Yeah.
So when was the first time you went totally nude?
Totally nude on stage was Guam. I think I got partially nude in Saipan.
You think?
I can't remember.
Okay. What sort of feeling, what do you go through when you're in front of a group performing? Do you lose yourself into the the act? What do you do? Are you conscious of their every movement, their feelings, their body language? Do you assess what they're doing? What happens to you on the stage?
When you're on stage, well, you can have different views of it. Sometimes you're concentrating more on your dance and your performance, that you've got something prepared to do. If there's a big crowd around the stage, if there's a smaller crowd, maybe there's more of an emphasis on trying to get to know them as individuals.
Personal, yeah.
So the private dance, or not the private dance, the lap dance, the stage dance is more intimate when there's less people.
So you try to draw them out. You're more in tune with how they're responding.
Yeah, takes it. There is a certain amount of chemistry between different people. So, when you're dancing in a club on Guam, for example, you're interacting with a lot of people and trying to figure out, what's the best chemistry that works in a way that the money will be made.
Sure.
You're also thinking about the money.
Of course.
The whole time.
Because it's your job.
Yeah. Do you find somebody in that group that you click with so that you can perform better? Do you find that helps you?
Yeah, a lot of people. I've had I danced for 2 years on Guam. Those 2 years were the most stable years of my life. I was living very comfortably. I worked 5 nights a week, and my 2 days off, I went to class in the afternoons, and I had the whole night off. And I was saving a lot of money. I had 2 student loans that I paid off one entire one, and about a third of the second one. And it was easy to live, and there was a lot of, it was comfortable, and it was fun because there was a lot of people that you met in the club that you clicked with. It was, you made a lot of friends and
resources, contacts.
And I actually met a lot of people from different academic fields. So I had a lot of things to talk about with a lot of people.
Did people ever act surprised that here you are, somebody who's an exotic dancer who has quite a brain?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
How did they treat you then?
Oh, well, sometimes, I think they try to compliment me by isolating me from the rest of the girls there. And
you were somehow better?
Yeah, well, you're probably the only one here that has a college education, and which is entirely not true. There's, there's a lot of women on Guam that are going to college and taking classes, and that have their own businesses on the mainland, that commute between the U.S. and the mainland, that dance in Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico. There is an entire complex network of
exotic dancers.
This American-style exotic dancing industry in different U.S. territories and on the mainland.
And it sounds like a great entrepreneur kind of thing to be in, too.
Yeah, it's a very profitable business. It's the most profitable nightlife business on Guam.
I need to clear one thing up, though. I think a lot of people equate exotic dancing with prostitution. And you've already described it was no touching.
Well,
but how much of the no touching during the dancing is there really after the dancing? In any of is that perception correct in many cases?
Which one exactly?
Oh, you're going to really make me work here. All right, let me ask you this: how much prostitution is actually involved in the association of strippers or with strippers?
Okay. Well, I'll start out by saying that there's no touching in the States.
That's right.
And on Guam, there are laws against touching, but they're not enforced.
Okay.
I think laws. There's 2 laws on Guam that aren't enforced. One is marijuana use, and the other one, no, anywhere, everybody on Guam.
Not me and not her.
A lot of people, and the other one is the laws against touching on Guam.
Okay.
It's very loose, liberal, and every dancer defines her own limits.
Sure.
So you could say, I'm not comfortable with this, and you'd get help from where you were dancing, or...
Well, you can walk away from any situation that you're not comfortable with and look for someone else to sit with.
Have you been touched dancing?
All the time, for 2 years. Touching occurs on a daily basis. It's like, it begins to feel like nothing abnormal, kind of like going to the gynecologist and getting a breast exam,
which most of us are not comfortable with.
Yeah, right. The very first time you were touched here, after knowing that was a taboo and everywhere else you danced, how did you react? What did you do?
I was definitely surprised, but when I had just started living on Guam, I was already getting settled in, and I wanted to stay in the island region, and I wanted to get my master's degree. So I made a choice to accept it.
I see. It was par for the course.
Yeah.
But you did draw a line somewhere, Anna.
Yeah, I drew my own lines.
Well, how, where, and how?
Well, that's really personal. But
well, we can only go as far as you're willing.
Well, that's usually what customers say. So,
really? Just like that. We can only go as far as you're willing. So you set the tone.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty empowering, isn't it?
Very much.
So basically the champagne rooms, the private rooms on Guam is, they're private dance rooms. I would say most dancers on Guam will tell you that they don't have sex. I mean, there's generally no sex offered in those rooms. But it's not to say that it doesn't happen, because you're free to do what you want to do in there. There's nobody else watching you. There's no video camera. So the choice it's the woman's choice.
Right.
So there's a stereotype of dancers being prostitutes, especially in Guam when you have this touching situation. And that's I think that it's mostly untrue. There are prostitutes or sex workers that employ themselves in the clubs. They, in and out of the clubs.
But it's not organized in any fashion. It's an individual.
It's very independent, very self-employable.
Yeah. I have a email here from Roy. I will only say his first name. He says, when I was on Guam, we always joked about strippers and how whenever you asked them why they strip, they always stated, I'm saving money for college. I guess in some cases this is true. And Anna, in your case, it's for masters. You already had a college degree coming out. It says, I have deep respect for strippers. I really mean that. Plus, they look so good, especially with all the dollar bills. Where do dollar bills hang on your body?
Oh, well, there's endless ways of holding a dollar or displaying a dollar or putting it away.
You have 2 minutes to give me a few. Because then I have to go to Headline News, and we can't wait to come back to you.
Well, I would say that, there are a lot of people that do have a great respect for women. And the reason men go to strip bars is because they want to look at naked women. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I think sexuality in general forms a large part of ourselves and societies and how they, how they develop and how what male roles are, what female roles are, and, how everything is sort of gendered. And
that's part of what your thesis was on, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the strip club is a space where this, this interaction between a female nude on stage and a man that's gazing at a naked body in front of him is like right at the core of what happens today, and how the striptease is a form of visual gratification in a time of AIDS. And there's since the 1990s there's been a lot of strip clubs opening in the States, a lot of topless bars, and there's been definitely an increase in voyeurism and internet and cyberspace.
Good point.
Looky, but there is nobody to touch on the internet, and that going to a strip bar, you're kind of an unavailable, unattainable, but a dancer. You're a beautiful body up there. I know. I could go dance in one of those bars. They'd be screaming, "Put it on! Put it on!"
Well, I think that's another point that probably should be made, is that most of the dancers probably are within a certain age group.
Very, very wide range.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Who's the oldest that you know? What old? Don't mention the name, just the age. How old is the oldest dancer?
I've met dancers ranging from 18 to maybe 50.
Oh, that's old, yeah.
It's preservation, girlfriend. It's all preservation.
And you will never tell.
Yeah.
Well, see, there's a narrower weight range. Right?
That's right.
Good shape, though, right?
Yeah, well, there's also, a large variety of ideal women.
Right.
Okay.
Perceptions
Absolutely.
of the ideal woman.
Yeah. Are you an ideal woman? Do you fit that perception of an ideal woman?
I think I fit the perception for a certain group of people, mostly...
I find you very attractive.
Thank you.
You're a very pretty girl.
You heard it here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Annie is. Annie is beautiful.
I mean, she doesn't have makeup on or anything, but you have very, very, very clear features, very attractive features.
Thanks.
Of course, I can't see the rest of you, but I will defer to more expert eyes on that one. We're going to take a break here. Go to Headline News, folks. We'll be right back.
Rlene Live. She'll talk about anything.
And she'd love to talk with you.
Give her a call. Here on News Talk K57 Radio.
This is Rlene Live, and we've got more coming up in just a moment.
Hey everybody, and what is going on? Jason Salas here with KUM Digital, and I'm going to get you right back to your show in just a moment, but I am popping in to let you know about the amazing opportunities you have to sell your brand, get customers for your service, or promote your event on all our library of podcasts on the KUM Podcast Network. Our shows have global distribution and are sent to all the major podcast directories and devices, from mobile phones and tablets to laptops and smart speakers to integrated TVs, and all on demand. By running an audio ad on the KUM Podcast Network, you'll guarantee timely exposure and market penetration for your stuff and see immediate results no matter what your end game or actionable items are. You want to drive downloads for a cool new app that you've built? Done. Want to see your restaurant gain an instant surge in foot traffic? Easy peasy, man. Does your business need some sort of boost? All you got to do is plug a promo code that ties into an incentive and see measurable, tangible results that very same day. Podcasting is the internet's fastest growing ad platform, and you can reach customers and partners now. To find out more about our ad opportunities and how podcast plugs can work for you, get in touch with us at podcast@kuam.com. Just think about it. Your ad could be running right here instead of my shrill voice, and your business would have a big leg up on the competition. So don't let this opportunity to connect with customers, extend your reach, and increase your effective exposure pass you by. Get in touch with the KUM digital marketing experts by emailing podcasts@kuam.com, that's podcasts, plural, at kuam.com, and let us put together an effective marketing plan for your stuff, just like this ad has been. See what I did there?
Now, more Rlene Live on the KUAM Podcast Network.
We're in studio talking about empowerment of women. And that's what the series is about. We have a few calls here. Oh, what is a lap dance?
A lap
listener
dance?
would like to know, what's a lap dance?
A lap dance is usually when the dancer is off stage and walking around the floor and offering a lap dance, a personal dance with a woman standing in front of the man, dancing in front of the man.
So it's an individualized...
You ever sit on his lap?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I guess that's how the term came about.
Lap dance. There you go, caller. Felix, welcome to the program. Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Hi. What a subject to talk about.
We talk about everything.
My gosh.
I can't believe it myself.
I'm impressed.
I can't
You know,
believe I'm
Felix,
on
the
this
whole
thing.
reason we're talking about this
Do
is...
you know what Felix this is?
No, I don't.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. The whole reason that we did this is because we found that the treatment of women has a lot to do with the attitude people have. And we figured if we invited women who were from different callings, different experiences, that we could learn from all of them. And part of that is just, you know, the diversity of the different types of women. And that it's strange enough that she says she's educated. She has an anthropology degree and goes into this. But, you know, notice the attitude that she shared between thinking that all women who strip have no educational background and then how they treated her after they realized she had a degree in anthropology.
Well, let me tell you a few things from a male standpoint.
Okay.
I've been hearing a lot of things of what you've been saying and what the young lady's been saying herself. You know, when I was growing up, I didn't have many experiences going to a strip show, and it wasn't really something I would do on a weekly or even a monthly basis. But you know, from what I understand, many people have an idea that many or most, if not all, of the people who are exotic dancers and strip for a living are doing it because they really want to. And this is probably one of the misperceptions that I'm trying to understand right now at my age, that you have a young lady who would go out there and do this willingly, whereas others are coerced into a situation where they are forced to do it, and they are almost like put into a position of having to revert to prostitution and stuff. But I'm very, very pleased and refreshed to see that there is somebody on Guam who's willing to come out and in an empowered situation, come out and say that this is probably not the case. And it's refreshing as heck to hear that.
I think, too, you need to remember that she's an American, and maybe in some cases those who are forced into prostitution probably are not.
Oh, I remember there was a situation where there was something put on a video article on TV a few years back. And this girl was staying on the island, and she basically hated men, and she was doing this because she's trying to get money. And you see articles and stuff like this in magazines and things that many of the women that get involved in that type of situation are there because they're just trying to get as many bucks as they can, do whatever they can to make some kind of future plans as to what they want to do with that money. They've got some things that they want to do, and they're focused on that. And when they are in front of people, this is something that I kind of learned from reading more so than actually asking questions. But many of them are in it for the money, and they've got some plans that they want to do the money with the money. But while they're doing it, they hate doing it, and they'd rather do something else. Of course, I mean, if there was something that could pay viable money to somebody who's trying to go to school and get their master's degree, I think that if it presented itself, she'd probably prefer to do that. But answer my question the best way you can is, my basic question is this: if you got involved in this thing on a voluntary basis, what do you think the other people that are from the United States, their basic reasons for getting in this? You say it's all individual, but I do know of a situation where I actually asked some questions, and most of the things you do with strippers, say in places like Saipan, that are because I go over there every now and then, and once in a while I meet with a friend. The first place they want to take me to is a strip show, and I don't necessarily want to do it. I'd rather go out and eat and talk where it's nice and quiet. But
that's what they all say.
Well, it's never quiet at an exotic show for sure, I can tell you that. But my friend in Saipan, he always insists that we go to this particular strip show, and I've always, okay, we'll go. The first time was kind of fun, but if somebody comes up and sits next to me and offers me some company, I would prefer to give them the money straight, just for sitting down and talking to us, rather than pay $20 for a drink and have half of it go to the bar.
Are you uncomfortable with a woman stripping in front of you, Felix?
Well, let me tell you this. I don't want them shoving in the thing in my face like they do in some of the other
Shoving what in your face?
Their genitals.
Oh.
You mean like breasts?
You know the thing.
No.
Breast, well, the breast sometimes comes within a very, very short distance of your nose and things. And
sometimes it slams into your nose.
There are some younger people that I've observed over the years, whenever I happen to go, that they are willingly, going out there and touching and doing everything that they possibly could to take advantage of whatever the lady's willing to take. And, I have had some situations where I did witness that the girls kind of turned off, tried to move away, but others, they just kind of grind it up against you. And,
Is this on Guam?
For me, if you grind it up again, I'm going to move back.
Was that on Guam or Saipan?
This was in Guam. This is
that's
one of
what I figured.
Down in Tumon. And in Saipan, you can't.
Saipan is no touching.
Well, that's not 100% true.
Really?
Yeah.
This must have been recently then.
Yeah, it must have been recent. I went over there about a year ago, and I went to this club with my gentleman friend in Saipan, and it's almost as though the people that are doing the touching are very, very familiar with the girls that are doing the dancing.
They're probably regular customers.
They're probably regular customers, but there was also people that they think that just because they put $1 on your G-string that you can do whatever the heck you want, and that there's this thing that you were just talking about, the back room and stuff, the VIP room and stuff. Well, I've always thought that I've always heard this before, that nothing ever happens in the VIP room. And if I had an experience that just for trying it, okay, and this was in Saipan. This was about 2 years ago, and the air conditioning in the place that we were supposed to go to was not working, so we had to wait a few minutes. But when we went in there, it was offered to do some karaoke, which is very, very nice. It's a good it's a good exchange from what we actually thought was going to be happening in there. Because my friend who accompanied me said, "What did you get?" You know, that kind of thing. And I don't want to say this because they said.
So what did he get?
No, what did you get? What did you get?
Oh, you.
Karaoke, some dancing. Right, it's almost like a lap dance.
Okay.
Very, very close quarters, but no touching and stuff. And it was very, very pleasing to see that.
So you have a question for Anna?
Well, the question is this: Can you kind of put to rest the ideas that 100% of the people that get involved in this thing are not doing it because they hate their fathers or anything like that?
Well, on Guam, I think all the women that are dancing on Guam have chosen to, for some reason or another. I think on Saipan there's a combination of the women that have chosen to do it and some women that probably thought they were going to be waitresses.
Well, there you go. That's one of the things that I found out. They get a contract to become a waitress. When they go over there for the first few weeks of their doing it, they're actually crying, but they actually kind of get used to it. And
as soon as the money starts flowing in. Right? It's good money?
I don't think
Anna says it's good money.
Is actually flowing in, but there is something that they can expect from the male customers.
All right.
I appreciate your time. That's a very, very good.
Thank you for your experience.
Bye, Arlene.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Food guy.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, good morning.
Ken.
Oh boy, this is familiar territory.
Oh, I have been listening to this program, and it is just exhilarating. And you all talk about the issues that are being discussed, which are very interesting and also very necessary to talk about. But what I'm calling about is Anna's a friend of mine, and I read part of what she was writing for her dissertation, and
it's just a thesis
involved is just and the way she writes, the way she thinks, she expresses herself very intelligently. And it's very bold, and I just want to give her kudos.
Thanks, Ken.
Let people know that, I'm a fan of hers because she's made me a great martini at Mac and Mark.
Sure, Ken.
She not only
provided me.
I will buy you your next martini.
Thank you. Well, I don't drink as much as I used to, but I can tell you that it's been fun sharing your personality is one that's very terrific. And if no one knows you, I don't want anybody to get the misperception just about dancers and strippers and the kind of personality that kind of stereotype them. You're a class person.
Thank you, Ken. Hey, I still owe you the article.
What article are you talking about?
An article on bartending etiquette.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Different area.
Ken
related area.
Ken brings up that you not only have a great brain, you not only have good dancing techniques, you also have a fantastic personality.
And you know how to make martinis.
Yes,
Bob, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, Bob.
Yeah, I've got kind of an interesting story that I wanted to share.
Sure.
Right. My wife and I were down in New Orleans, and we went to a club where they have both male and female dancers. Half of it's female dancers, and the other half are male dancers.
In the same room?
No, the club's divided into two separate areas. And I'd been in strip clubs before, and this was kind of her first experience. So she went into the men's side and sat down, and I went over to the ladies' side. And I kind of snuck over and got one of the male dancers and paid for a table or a lap.
You devious guy, you.
For my wife, and so I went back and sat down, in the ladies section, and in just a couple of minutes, she comes running over to me, and I thought, oh my gosh, she's terribly embarrassed in this, but no, she wanted some dollar bills.
That's very sweet of you.
So I guess my point is that from watching that, I mean, she had a wonderful time, and we laugh about it continually. So it wasn't a negative experience, but I guess my point is that, I think women can have just as much fun in the club as
it's so much fun. I had so much fun the 2 years I worked here. I mean, there was all kinds of crazy stuff going on, but it was so much fun. It's like no other job you'll ever have. And I think any job you have after you're dancing is hard, because you become spoiled.
It's not as exciting.
It's not as, you're not in such a position of power, especially when you're still a student. You're trying to work your way up, So
thanks a lot, Bob.
Thank you.
You bet, guys.
Wonderful. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Now, that the empowerment that you receive, after we took the break here to go to Headline News, you took a real big sigh of relief instead. And I said to you, you're acting like this is the very first time you stripped. And, and really that part of that sensation, right, that that fear, there's a certain amount of fear that's in there?
Yeah, I mean, there's an interesting thing that the human body does when it responds to fear. I mean, it's amazing how two totally different situations can produce the same sort of sensation. Yeah.
Don't go away. There's more coming up with Rlene Live on the KUAM Podcast Network.
Hey there, podcast subscribers. Wait, hold up. You're not already permanently locked in to receive our feed of awesome on-demand digital audio shows from the KUAM Podcast Network? Shame on you. But it's okay. There's hope for all of us. All you need to do is head over to SoundCloud and hit follow, or if you're on iTunes, tap the subscribe button as hard as you can to directly link up to our studios and get all of our episodes on any digital device so that you can enjoy them and join the conversation as soon as we upload them. I'm talking about phones, tablets, Apple TV, whatever. You'll be able to get to us. You can also use your favorite podcast application and search KUAM Podcast Network to add us. It's super easy, super fun, super interesting, and most importantly, super free. And for anyone who's already subscribed, thank you so much. You don't need to do any of this, but if you are in iTunes, do what we do on Guam, help your neighbors out. Break out your digital jumper cables and give us a rating and a review to help our podcast reach as many people as possible. Also, you want to register your email address to receive KUAM Digital Digest, our weekly newsletter that goes out every Friday by going to KUAM.com and then clicking on the newsletter button at the way tippy top of our homepage. Thanks so much for supporting us, and okay, that's enough gratuitous self-promotion. Let's get back to the show.
Now, back to the conversation with Rlene Live.
Now, you have in front of you a thesis that you're writing, and you have a stack of cards there. And we were talking about defense.
I know. I haven't even been looking at them. I just
Isn't
brought
that
them
wonderful?
in, so
Isn't that wonderful that you're not looking at them?
Yeah, it is.
Now I'm curious as to why you brought them.
Well, these are the same note cards I used when I presented my oral defense last Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
So I have 2 weeks to finish the final draft, and I just brought them in today.
Why is oral defense important in writing a thesis?
It's the oral examination that you take before you finish your degree.
But explain, what is it in your defense that the professors or whoever it is that's in this committee is interested in? What were you offering them that is different from today? Because you haven't looked at it once.
Well, I think the most encompassing idea of my whole work is the fact that it's an unexplored area in Pacific Island gender studies, and which in itself is just emerging.
It's a wonderful program,
among so many male-centered disciplines.
Right.
So it's just a place to begin for anyone else who decides to take this type of research further.
Right. The Women and Gender program at the university, we've had 2 people on the program since I've been on the radio, but not to this extent. This is a whole project that I'm trying to collect information on. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with all these interviews, but it's something that I figured we needed to collect from an oral standpoint as well, because there's just so many phenomenal women in different areas, and their personal experiences have to be recorded somehow.
Yeah.
So you're one of the first ones.
Oh, another groundbreaking.
That's right. But I'd like to go back to your need to go into anthropology. Why did you choose anthropology?
Well, I grew up in different parts of the world. I was born in Puerto Rico, raised in the Dominican Republic, Bolivia, Guatemala, and Florida. And my initial interest in college was architecture, and I went through the first 2 years and didn't make it into upper division. So I changed my major, and I chose anthropology because it's basically the study of other cultures and
So it sounded easy.
Actually, the very first class I took in college was cultural anthropology. I chose it as an elective. So it was the one that was most interesting as an elective my first semester. So 2 years later, I ended up switching to anthropology.
Yeah. Now, in that study, in having to practically walk the study, if you will, you come to Guam and you're in a strip bar. How do you associate what you've learned in there to part of the cultural background that the men that come to the show or the women that come to the show express? What have you learned about this part of the world, both in Saipan and Guam?
Well, for me, this part of the world is so unique. The first time I saw Guam, that I drove around Guam and I went down south to Umatic and saw the houses and the chickens and dogs and everything. I mean, there's so many things, there's so many little places that look like Bolivia or Guatemala, fruit stands, and, I guess there's always that exoticized fantasy when you arrive on an island that you have never been on, I think I was enculturated with that notion as well. I had a pretty Eurocentric education, even though I was overseas. So I'm pretty much an overseas Latin American kid in Guam. So
there's a nice combination.
So there's a lot of similarities in the Chamorro language and Spanish. I can understand probably every 10th word. And
get a general idea and a feel what they're saying.
And it was kind of interesting when my father came out here, and he's born and raised in Spain, and he flew out here from Panama, and he'd never been to this part of the world before. And when he finally arrived, I saw him at the airport. He said, "God, that was a long trip." And when I see all the signs, all the Chamorro names of the baggage claim and the customs and immigration and stuff, it's very similar to the Spanish. He said he was just reading them and thought to himself, "Am I there yet?"
He's reached home.
And I want to leap back to when Felix called in and he said something about, we let him go on this one, something about all the women who do this kind of dancing because they hate their fathers.
That is not true for the most part. I wouldn't doubt that there are some women. I think women in any profession, whether they're doctors or lawyers or whatever, there's always women that there's fathers that are not liked. So, it's not a...
But that isn't the main reason people go into dancing.
No, you don't go into dancing because you hate your father. You go into dancing because the money's good. That's it. That's it. You don't have to have a broken family or no education or anything like that.
It's all economics.
Yeah.
This isn't a dysfunctional occupation.
It's a corporation in the United States. There's a chain. It's like a Denny's, Pure Platinum, Deja Vu. There's different strip clubs that are the same throughout the country.
Now, do I get this right that you no longer dance?
No, I don't. I quit dancing 2 years ago.
Yeah. Do you know? Could you tell us why?
Well, a lot of it had to do with a mixture of events. My adoptive father had passed away a few months before I decided to stop. My relationship with my fiancé was becoming more serious, and there was a couple of negative experiences with two of my coworkers. One of them was the woman that was beaten and later died. Beaten at the Hamilton Hotel and later died. She was a very close friend of mine, and she actually, the day she was pronounced dead was my last day at Club USA. So I had taken the week off to finish a term paper, but I just didn't come back after that. Then I started bartending.
You say that your relationship started to get more serious with your fiancé. What was his attitude? Did he meet you at a strip bar?
No, I met him when he was bartending.
Oh, okay.
But then he started working downstairs from where I was dancing, and that's where we got together.
Yeah. Did it bother you that you were upstairs stripping?
No. At the time I was, I'd been living a steady life. I'd been on Guam a little over a year.
And let's go to the other part of the the why you stopped, the physical abuse that happened to your friend. Is physical abuse rampant amongst people who are doing exotic dancing? Is that a problem?
I don't think it occurs daily. I mean, some women have violent spouses or boyfriends.
I was just more concerned because if you're in some place where there is no touching, you're not likely to get grabbed or hurt.
Yeah.
Not while they're dancing, but what about later?
Yeah.
Well, there's no violence in the strip clubs. I mean, every now and then, if somebody gets out of hand, you tell them to leave, you know.
Do they have bouncers?
Some clubs have bouncers, some don't. I think violence occurs outside of the strip club.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And I don't think it matters whether there's touching or not, because in the mainland it occurs outside of the strip club as well. So, but, in the 2 years that I worked, as a dancer on Guam, I saw maybe 3 fights, At the
club?
Yeah.
I'd like you to spend the last 5 minutes, if you don't mind, on the thesis. What is it that you're presenting in the thesis and why?
Well, like I said, it's an unexplored area in Pacific Island Gender Studies. I took a census. One of the major data collection efforts that I made for this thesis was like a census. I went to all the strip clubs that were open, and right now there's 10. So I went in September, and then I went in December, and then March. So I went to all the clubs on those 3 months, and I just talked to one key informant at each club, and just inquired the name of the numbers of the dancers, hostesses, owners, managers, and other staff. So just to get a number, and by gender, how many men, how many women, and what their ethnicity and what their occupation is. No names, no age.
Sure. Just the stats.
And it's just based on field informant knowledge, If you work in a strip bar on Guam, you pretty much know all the people that work with you. You know that there are this many people working with you. In most cases.
Small community, huh?
In most cases, yeah.
Now, how many men strip on Guam?
Right now, there's no male review location.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I believe the last male review closed 3 or 4 weeks after following the September 11 attacks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And how many women are part of the audience at strip bars?
I would say a steady 30%. There's a lot of women that visit the strip bars. Well, I go and I visit my friends, and I was collecting my data for the 6-month period.
When you rate other women who strip, how do you rate them? What do
you mean?
As far as their performances, how do you tell a good dancer from one that isn't very good?
Well, there's two areas of talent where this could be brought out. Some dancers have organized dance routines, and I think every dancer has a series of turns and moves that they reuse.
Are they all thematic, like yours was with the men?
No, not that much.
Okay.
It's mostly just costumes.
I guess if you're going to strip, you have to have something to take off.
Yeah, just something to take off. It doesn't have to be. The stripogram is more like the policeman dressed up, or the pizza boy, or the pizza girl. There really isn't so much of that here. On Halloween,
you can have more fun.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Anna Lucia Hill, it's been a wonderful pleasure interviewing you in studio.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, would you mind stripping?
What's that?
Would you mind stripping?
Would I mind stripping?
It's kind of cold in here, Arlene.
Yeah, I think I would.
You've given that up completely, huh?
That's real cold in here.
Well, I ask because I wonder when you go out, is this something that when they find out who you are, do they ask you? Would you mind stripping? Would you do
Actually,
that?
I think somebody jokingly asked that question right after my oral defense. It was just jokingly.
Yeah, one of the professors?
Yeah, I think
good
there's definitely curiosity.
Same thing. I just wonder if you would do that or ever, but you've stopped doing it completely.
I've got it on videotape if you'd like to see it.
Oh, no, I was just kidding. I really was.
Watch the tape.
It would have to be.
It
would have to be all a matter of setting. It's my pleasure again to have you in studio. Thank you very much for participating with us.
Question.
Okay, go ahead.
What kind of music was it that you would feel comfortable with up there?
Actually, my favorite things to dance to was Herb Alpert, Santana.
Here we go.
Reggae, Spanish music. Occasionally a jazz tune.
Yeah.
Like piano music. every now and then I would just, I just felt like messing around on a boring night, and I play the theme to Cheers. Or the Looney Tunes.
Yeah, Anna Lucia Hill, we wish you well.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you well on your marriage as well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, this is Rlene Live. Until tomorrow morning, adios, everybody.
Don't go away. There's more coming up with Rlene Live on the KUAM Podcast Network.
Hey everyone, I'm Ken Nicholas and I love movies. No, I mean I really love movies. And if there's one thing I enjoy more than dissecting plots, questioning casting choices, and challenging scenes, it's debating with my friends and their opinions about their favorite flicks.
You can't handle the truth!
So join me and my cohort of cinephiles each and every Tuesday for Real Talk, right here on the KUAM Podcast Network.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
We cover best of lists, actors' top roles, and don't pull any punches when it comes to giving props about what's big on the silver screen, streaming, and on video. Just make sure to bring your own popcorn.
Let's go!
So lock in our show by subscribing to our feed on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, or on your favorite podcatcher platform.
Nice wig, Janice. What's it made of?
Your mom's chest hair.
That's Real Talk, each Tuesday, right here as part of the KUAM Podcast Network. Speaking of which, let's go back to your show.
I guess the only thing I can say is I'll promise to keep rocking and rolling and making better films.
Now, back to the conversation with Rlene Live.
This is part 2 with the interview of Anna Lucia Hill.
Half a day, Rlene.
Half a day, Anna Lucia Hill.
How are you?
I'm doing well, sweetie. And you?
So good. I'm doing well, too.
That doesn't surprise either of us, should it?
What?
I said that shouldn't surprise either of us, should it?
No, not at all. I'm sure we've both been through ups and downs, but we're both very resilient women.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope more ups than down.
Overall, yes.
That's good. I'm looking at your picture from 2004 or 2002.
Yeah. I had to go back in our messages and look at the date that you had found that the recording was, and I guess it was 6 months before I left Island.
That was pretty quick. Good thing I caught you before you left, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, it was exactly April 9th, 2002 that I conducted the interview.
Oh my God, that's such an interesting date.
Why?
I'll get into it as we talk story here.
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago on April 9th, I had a massive panic attack. And I had I've always had fluctuations of anxiety throughout my life. And then they kind of got worse as I got older. And then the timing of it was it was interesting because it was almost exactly a year after my ex-husband and I split up. And I was living on my own in my own apartment. I went back to my full-time job. I was dating a new guy, and we were getting ready to go to Bolivia together, and all these things were going on, and then all of a sudden, everything in my life that has been backlogged, all this stuff that I've been pushing down to keep moving forward, it just had to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out, and I thought, gosh, I better get help for this, and then that began kind of I think that's where my most recent journey kind of took hold and sort of inspired what I'm doing now. And if none of that stuff had happened, and I can get into more detail about it, but it was basically like the beginning of a trial and error period of medications and counselors and psychiatric services and anxiety, depression, insomnia, premenopause, hormone fluctuations, a little bit of hair loss, some weight gain, major weight loss, and then followed by weight gain, and like just all these things, and then just the mental capacity of processing everything as it was happening all at once. And then I just, in the last year and a half or so, I've been finally climbing out of it.
Oh, that's good news.
Yeah.
Boy, my timing is really good, huh?
It is good. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, when you mentioned some of the stresses there, I was going to ask, are you perimenopausal?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. And
my body has definitely...
Right. And sometimes I think that, women such as us that are highly charged, right? I mean, we're like in overdrive so much. We don't pause to take in a lot of the challenges that we live with, and survival is such a high priority for us that's what we go into when we're dealing with whatever trauma-induced activity and coping is usually not one of the things we do well, right? And so when the body starts to overcome by adjusting, and as we mature, I found that in my case, I had very similar behaviors. And I did the same thing you did. I reached out to my doctors and said, something's going on with me. So you have to listen to your body. You have to be very cognizant of your behavior, and you have to reach out to professionals. Fortunately, when it came to me and they said, we could give you medication for this, I said, no. I want to be fully aware of what's happening to me, and I want to be responsible for my behavior, because honestly, I didn't want license to be that word that we don't like being addressed by. So,
which word would that be?
The one begins with a B.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like that in other women, and I don't like that for myself, and so I told my doctors, no, you're just giving me license to do that. And I said, I want to be aware that I'm being like that, and I want control of that. And they said, okay, but if it's overwhelming, which they said it could be, that I needed to swallow the pill kind of thing, right? Well, fortunately, I didn't get there. And but you know how I did it? I started creating. I published 5 video documentaries during that period of my life.
That's great.
So I focused on something other than myself. Now, you seem to have a different background. You mentioned that you had some depression and something, the mood swings prior to the development. So maybe part of that, was all the upbringing and everything else that you've struggled through as a kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I never
knew I was still carrying it all.
We never do we? Like I said, we are survivors. We move, and then when our coping devices change and our body starts making that real drastic switch, it's very difficult to cope with it. So 6 months after you left here, I didn't even know you were gone. You know that?
That's so crazy.
You just left me.
We didn't really we didn't have social media, and or any of that back then. So I tried to tell as many people as I could, but I don't know.
Yeah. Do you remember how you came into my life?
I was trying to remember that, and I was thinking that, was it through Kelly?
Kelly who?
Kelly Marsh.
Kelly Marsh.
She is now a senator.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know Kelly.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you knew Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you interview both of us?
I can't remember.
I think so.
Can't remember. No, I remember now. I remember now. Let me remind you. Dirk
But I don't
Ballendorf.
remember how exactly we came together. It's very foggy.
Dirk Ballendorf.
Dirk Ballendorf. God rest his soul. I cried like a damn fool when he passed away. I'll never forget it. I was in my office. I had to step outside. Man, it makes me want to cry just saying it. But my God.
Dirk Ballendorf was coming on my show once a week to talk about history things. And you were one of the Micronesian Studies candidates for master.
Yeah.
And he said, Rlene, would you be interested in interviewing a exotic dancer working her way into a master's degree? And I said, absolutely. And that's how.
God, I love him.
Right?
God, he was the best. He embraced me.
Yes.
He had no judgment. He just pushed me forward. I meant more like encouraged.
I know what you mean.
You know?
Even in that, I'm very reluctant. Whenever somebody, I mean, it's odd because all my advances in my professional career have been invitations. I never sought it out. You know, it's always someone saying, you know, Rlene, you should do this, or would you consider doing that, or why don't you try this, or you ever thought about doing this? You know, it's been like that, and of course I just look at them like, no. So he was coming on my show, and of course he introduced me to you, and there was somebody else that he introduced me to, and I think I may have brought them on. I'm not quite sure. I have to look at the list. So anyway, that's how I met you, was through Dirk Ballendorf.
The Dirkster.
Dirkster.
The Dirkmeister. The Dirkerator. He was awesome.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the day I defended my thesis.
What was that like?
And it was a thesis on strip clubs. And I guess this would have been since the interview, because when you interviewed me, I think I was about to graduate. I was finishing up, because that was 2002. I graduated in June of 2002, and then I moved to Florida in October of 2002. But before I could graduate, I had to defend my thesis, and it's always open to the public. They always post it. They would just announce it somehow, and usually a few people show up, for the other students. And then it was my turn, and all these people showed up from I don't know where, all over.
Did it scare you?
Crawling. People were like climbing the walls and shit. And I'm just saying, they were like just standing around. There was like no more chairs, and everybody was trying to find some room.
Well, you have to admit, Anna, not very many strippers go in and defend a master's thesis.
Yeah, well, everybody was intrigued with
exactly.
the topic, of course.
They wanted to see what you look like with your clothes on.
Yeah. That too.
Just like the
guys. I'll never forget the Dirkster, because the Dirk was my chair. He was the chair of my thesis committee. And I was talking and presenting, and I brought some visual aids, and I had this book that I had borrowed from a customer at Mac and Marty's, because I was bartending at Mac and Marty's already. I had already quit dancing. I wasn't a dancer anymore. I kind of... I wasn't a dancer for like the last year or two. But one of my customers gave me this book, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like an exotic, I don't know, like photographs of exotic performers, and it was kind of an art book. And it had a bunch of naked people in it, and I'm talking and presenting my thesis and trying to make eye contact with people, and I was nervous as hell. And I look over at the Dirkster. He's sitting right next to me to my right. He's just like not even paying attention. He's just flipping through this book.
You should have never brought it out.
No shame, no shame. All these people were there. This is the chair of my committee. He's just flipping through this book. And then I ended up talking way too long. I went it was supposed to be 20 minutes, I think. And I talked for over 45 minutes, and I didn't even feel that time go by.
And neither did they.
Finally, he closed the book and looked up at me and said, you're going to have to wrap it up now.
Because he was done.
With that voice.
Yep.
And those big eyes.
Yep.
Stay where you are. The conversation continues with Rlene Live when we come back.
Start your day the KUAM way with our new streaming shows on Facebook Live each weekday. Here's your starting lineup. Mondays will give you a glimpse into our morning meetings with the KUAM news team. Tuesdays, join our group chat with Chris Barnett. Wednesdays, it's crime time with the island's law enforcers. Thursdays, get the latest info with Dave Delgado, who's in the zone. And Fridays, we get Fit AF, fitness and fun. And the best part, all our shows are completely interactive, so you're directly part of the conversation. Join us Monday through Friday starting at 9 a.m. Start your day the KUAM way.
The conversation continues now on the KUAM Podcast Network with Rlene Live.
And I was like, oh, okay. And I hadn't even covered everything I wanted to. I wasn't even done. But I went too long. I didn't prepare. I just had no idea what I was getting into. I just had so much to talk about. I wish somebody had a video of it. But yeah.
Yeah, you should have said something to me. I would have recorded it.
Yeah. I didn't even think back then. I was 27 years old.
Right. 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
17 years ago.
Yeah, not that, it was 2000, 2002.
Yeah.
So, not that I want you to skip ahead or anything, but when you left here, I mean, I wasn't even aware that you left. I thought you were still up at the university.
Yeah. Oh, wow. God, yeah, that was a long time ago. I just...
That's somebody's lifetime, 17 years.
Yeah, it is.
After you left here, were you married when you left Guam?
I was engaged when I left Guam. And then we moved to Florida in October of 2002, and then we got married in June of 2004. And then we got divorced in August of 2016. Yeah.
What happened?
Well, I don't know if you knew my ex-husband. His name was Kevin Gaston. If people are listening to your show, I'm sure there are some people who know exactly who he is. He was a bartender at Tahiti Rama.
Okay. I never met him.
And, when Tahiti Rama closed down and got torn down when they were building the outrigger or extending the outrigger, and everybody was just so sad, so depressed that it was the end of an era at Tahiti Rama. And, that's kind of how I met him, because he started bartending at Scores Sports Lounge, which was right downstairs from Club USA.
Where you danced?
Where I danced. I mean, we had a good run. We didn't have a terrible marriage, but so we had our ups and downs. But I mean, all in all, we moved around a lot. We lived in a few different places. We owned a condo for a couple years. And then, there was a couple of crisis moments. he was always very sort of inward and kind of quiet. He didn't talk much, and I'm a very chatty person. I think I've become a little more introverted as I got older. I used to be very extroverted and very flamboyant.
That's funny, huh?
And yeah, every once in a while it still comes out.
You know, Anna, when I was listening to the interview, the odd part about it is that it was a copy as I shared, but the first part of it seems to be gone. So I'm wondering, honestly, I've kept thinking about this, and I think that your being on the radio blew everyone out of the water. It was such a departure from everything else that I'd done, and I didn't let anybody know, and I think people forgot. I think the board operator forgot to turn the recorder on because she was so enamored with what was going on in the show.
God. It was cool.
Yeah, do you remember how the male employees of the station were walking past the show in that glass window?
That message to me, but I honestly can't remember.
You don't?
It's just so
maybe
so blurry.
Maybe it's because you're looking in at me and I'm looking out at them, and they're behind you. Yeah. Because I said, why are all these men walking past the studio? I said, Anna, this has to be you. They're probably wondering.
Funny.
They're wondering if they know you.
Yeah, and I probably disappointed them because I didn't have any makeup on. I had my little glasses on, my little library hairdo, and T-shirt. And I wasn't a stripper anymore at that point.
That's right.
But yeah, it's I guess it struck up curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, because everyone listens to the show. Everybody did back then. It was really very popular. Yeah. And
it's the one thing in my life that always it always makes people react in a different way. And now that all this time has gone by, it only comes up when I'm like talking story. And if I'm comfortable enough with someone, I'll say, I was a stripper on Guam in the late 90s. Like, what? You were what?
Yeah, right. Double masters? Are you kidding me? You look like a librarian today.
Yeah, I look the same, I think.
Yeah. Well, you have a little more tattoo on you than the last time.
Yeah, I have lots of tattoos now. I have tattoos on both arms, on my back, on my ankle, and on my chest.
What brought that on? You weren't marked up when you came on my show.
I had 0 tattoos. It's funny because when I was a stripper on Guam, I had 0 tattoos, and I never experimented with any hard drugs, as anybody would think.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until well after I quit dancing that I experimented with psychedelics and got tattoos, and it was like later in life.
Why'd you do it?
But the tattoos came about because when I moved back to Guam, a few years after I came back, like in 2005, I got back in touch with a girl that I went to high school with. She was in my art class.
Mm-hmm.
We were in a drawing class our senior year, junior year or senior year. It was high school, senior year of high school. And we found each other on MySpace. Remember MySpace?
No.
MySpace.com. It was like one of the earlier social media.
No, I didn't go. I didn't go there.
Before Facebook.
Right. I don't do Facebook.
But anyway, so that's how we found each other, and we didn't really know each other that well in high school, but we remembered being in the same art class, and we just became friends. We started hanging out, and then we became best friends. And then she always had this dream of becoming a tattoo artist, and she wasn't yet, but she had a few tattoos, and I had no tattoos, and I was like, wow, this is very intriguing. And then as time went on, she had the opportunity to apprentice with someone, and she started apprenticing and gradually started tattooing, and then she was tattooing. I was one of the first people she tattooed, and I just watched her grow as a tattoo artist, and now she owns her own tattoo shop on Fort Myers Beach, and she is amazing. Her name is Dawn Webb, and she has been such a powerful influence in my life.
What did she tattoo?
So she's done all my tattoos except the first one. my first tattoo was by her teacher. The woman that she was apprenticing under, she gave me my first tattoo. It's one of the tattoos I have on my back. It's of a quetzal, which is the national bird of Guatemala, which is where I used to live. All my tattoos represent places where I've lived. So Becky did my first one, and then all the rest of them are Dawn's.
Okay, and so what representation of Guam do you have on your body?
I have a couple of latte stones on my ankle.
Oh, okay.
On my left ankle.
Very appropriate place for them. Foundation.
Yep, they're perfect. I love them.
Foundation stones.
Dawn did them.
Yeah, by the way, lati is stone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So just say lati. People say that all the time. Lati stone. Like,
oh, I'm sure.
Like
I'm sure.
You know, like a dish plate, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
After all these years.
It's a very common way people say it.
When I lived in Saipan, there was they called it Taga? Or is that something else?
Tinian. The Taga Beach is in Tinian, and the Taga site is in Tinian.
Okay, that's probably what it is. Maybe it was in Tinian then, because I've been there too. I've been to Tinian, Rota, Saipan, and Guam.
Right. What were you doing in Saipan?
Before I moved to Guam, I was living in Saipan. I was there for like a year and a half, and I was working as like a sports, like a club mate at the Diamond Hotel.
Okay. You did mention something like that in your report, in the interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I probably mentioned it because we all went out one night, and we went to a strip club, and I got on stage.
Yes, you did.
And I'm dancing around. This was before I became a stripper on Guam. Mm-hmm. I was dancing around, and some Japanese customer was there that was friends with the owner of the Saipan Diamond Hotel, and he, of course, he's Japanese too.
Mm-hmm.
Japanese-owned hotel, and he caught wind of it. And then when it came time to renew my contract, I was not offered an opportunity to renew. So I wasn't fired, but they just let me stay until my contract ended. It was like a 10-month contract.
Mm.
And then I couldn't stay there. And I'm like, oh, darn.
Because you got up on the stage.
Because I got on stage at a strip club, so that was frowned upon.
Mm. Did you have fun when you first did it?
Oh, yeah. I've always had fun doing it. I don't think I remember ever not having fun doing it.
You spoke about the empowerment of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it empowering?
Well, I just felt comfortable. I felt like I could be myself. It was artistic. It was expressive, and it made me feel good about myself. I felt beautiful, and I felt confident because I could talk to anyone and ask people to buy me drinks. And it takes a certain kind of confidence to be able to because you have to work the crowd, and if you're a shy person, it's really hard.
Sure. Do you consider yourself shy?
No. I wouldn't say I'm shy. I think I'm, like I said earlier, I'm more introverted now as an older person than I was back in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not shy. No, I'm not. No, I still do crazy things in public just to make people look.
Just to shock them? To shock people?
That's interesting, too. I should mention that in the last, since 2015, it's only been a few times because it's really hard. But I've performed a little bit of burlesque.
What is that?
I don't know if it's caught on over there, but it's a very old form of striptease. It's actually what striptease originated back in the 20s. There was vaudeville, there was burlesque, there was cabaret, and burlesque it started out as parody. So it was these women that would get up and perform with, and make these sexy dances, and they would dress like the politicians, and they would make fun of politicians and politics, and it was parody. It was sort of sexy parody, which the word burlesque, the root of the word means to make fun of.
Burlesque.
So so now there's sort of a resurgence of burlesque in the United States, and I touched on burlesque in my thesis a little bit, but mostly talking about like where striptease came from.
Yeah.
But nowadays, like all over the mainland, there's all these burlesque troupes forming, and festivals and shows and competitions. And our area in Southwest Florida, we had nothing in 2015, and me and a group of girls, we decided to start something. And so we started a little bit, and then gradually over time there were some other girls doing it, and then there were some girls in Naples that had a troupe, and they were amazing. And so now there's all kinds of burlesque stuff going on.
Nice.
I performed, I got on stage like maybe 3 or 4 times.
Don't know anything about that.
Sometimes, one time by myself, and then another time as a duet, and then a couple other times as a troupe.
Wow.
So it's interesting. You just, you perform. It really takes on any kind of form. People who perform burlesque, you can pretty much, anything goes. But some of the real purists, they'll strip to, like an Ella Fitzgerald song or a Frank Sinatra.
Right.
And they'll pull the gloves off slowly, and they'll sit on a stool or in a bathtub and pull the stockings off, the little toes sticking out, and it's just all about the tease.
Right.
You just take off each item of clothing very slowly. And then at the very end of the show, the last few seconds, you take off your top and you're in pasties. And you show your pasties for a few seconds, and you run off stage. And it's just delightful and beautiful.
This is Rlene Live, and we've got more coming up in just a moment.
Middle of the ocean, but this paradise is teeming with people with all sorts of amazing abilities.
Bonita Baby was nothing but hair accessories. I had some little barrettes that we were making, and headbands, our little knit bow headbands, and that's all I started out with. And I decided shortly after, I had been sewing for a little while, that I was going to put it out there.
Whether it's artists who create visual masterpieces, creatives inspiring others, people who compose and perform moving pieces of music, athletes taking their game to the next level, or entrepreneurs coming up with innovative solutions, there are a ton of folks here doing incredible things with their gifts. And I want to introduce them to all of you.
Women, not just guys, women could come in and feel like they're there to train, they're going to be taken serious, they're not going to be hit on by dudes, they're going to have their own space. They're going to be respected as just another practitioner of this martial art.
I'm Jonigan Charfris, and I invite you to join me on the KUAM Podcast Network for Fistful of Talent, where I sit down with people discussing their visions and dreams and sharing the secrets of their success.
In the avenues of being in the creative life, and then what's the next thing?
Just subscribe to the KUAM Podcast Network on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcatcher platform, and prepare to be amazed. That's Fistful of Talent each and every Friday. Thanks for listening.
The conversation continues now on the KUAM Podcast Network with Rlene Live.
So I took a little break from it now because I'm back in school, but I went to a burlesque show last Friday. My friend Vanessa put together a production, and it was really good.
Yeah, last week when I went up to Saipan, you said that you were in the middle of finals. So you got your second master's?
I'm just starting my second master's.
What did you get at the university, a master's or a BA?
At the University of Guam, I got a Master of Arts in Micronesian Studies.
All right.
Now I'm getting a Master of Arts in Clinical Mental Health Counseling. So instead of going for a PhD, I decided to get another master's.
Why did you do that?
Well, it was inspired directly by all that experience I had 2 years ago.
I see.
On April 9th, 2017, I had that panic attack, and it just triggered this whole chain of events and this whole process of awakening and finding myself and just learning how to love myself again, like, authentically, and just, I don't know, just knowing what my boundaries are, not pushing myself so hard.
Right. Boy, that's a hard lesson to learn.
Myself. Yeah, just,
That's a tough one to learn.
It is. It's really tough. And, just learning how to love again,
Oh,
I have a new guy. I have a new guy now, and so and he's just been so sweet, so supportive, and so amazing.
Yeah, I was talking more about the knowing just how much to take on. I'm such a glutton when it comes to work. I just,
I like that. I like the word glutton.
Well, I say it because I like being busy. There's family, there's grandchildren, and my grandchildren are just delicious.
Oh my gosh, how many grandchildren do you have?
Well, now I have 7 granddaughters and 1 delicious grandson.
He's delicious.
They're just, I inhale them when they're with me, Anna, because, I just say, come here, and I'll just inhale them, and they go, they chuckle. They think it's so funny when I hold them and just sniff them. That's how I
like to sniff people, too. That's so interesting.
Yeah, and that's how I get their essence. And so when I was in Saipan, Kamea turned 6, and so when I came home, the first thing she said, Gammy, I'm 6. I said, you're 6 what? She said, I'm 6 years old. I said, you turned another age while I was gone? Who said you could do that? So I hugged her, and she just melts. They melt when you hold them, and I inhale them, and I just, you belong to me. You're mine. And they wither. They just drop. They just literally cave in. They love it. And, it's a gammy thing, okay?
Very lucky.
But it's really nice to have their children.
How many kids do you have?
5 altogether, and then there's 7 granddaughters from them, and the 1 grandson. Enough about me. I really want to know about you. So this master's is in clinical
mental health counseling.
Okay. And so what do you hope to do with it? Practice?
Well, when I graduate, I have to take a licensure exam.
Okay.
And then I'll be a licensed clinical mental health counselor. And I can provide counseling services. I can do private counseling, maybe start my own practice, or maybe I can work for an agency or for the state, or I really don't know. I don't have a plan for what to do.
Do you enjoy the topic? Do you enjoy the subjects?
But I do. I love the subject matter. I'm absolutely intrigued by the human mind, human consciousness.
Right.
And I saw a therapist for a year, a really good therapist. He helps me work through a lot. And I just admired him so much. I said, that's just amazing how someone can be so empathic and so understanding and kind of presents your life back to you in a different perspective, and just to be able to be in the helping profession, help other people with the same kinds of things that I went through, because I went, it's really hard to find the right kind of help. I didn't want to take medications, but I was on medications, and some of them gave me bad reactions, and then I went through periods where I couldn't sleep. I was paranoid. I was depressed. I was completely foggy. I didn't have any clarity. And I just had to and I was frustrated because I wasn't finding like a solution, but the solution is within you.
Yes, I was just going to say, as much as you, I was going to say, as much as you,
a good counselor can make you realize that, not by telling you directly, but by working with you so that you can see it for yourself.
Exactly. I was going to say, don't diminish your role in this success because he guides, and you're the one that has to reach in.
I did it. I did every bit of it.
Right.
He was like
directing you through.
He gave me guidance, and he just offered me some different points of view.
Yeah, like stop beating yourself up, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he helped me immensely, and so I decided and then I work in graduate admissions. I've been working at Florida Gulf Coast University since 2003. I took a year off in there, but I came back. But I've been processing admissions for graduate programs for years and years, and I've been processing admissions for this program for years and years. And one day, I was kind of recovering and trying to make it through and just trying to be optimistic, and I'm processing and I'm receiving all these materials for this program, and I thought, the people applying to this program, they're going to graduate and they're going to be therapists, they're going to be counselors, and they're going to be just like Wayne, who's my counselor, learning how to do what he does. And here I am working at the university. I'm full-time, and one of the benefits that I can take advantage of that I haven't yet was I can take classes tuition-free.
Wow.
So I'm finally going to take advantage of that because I had always wanted a doctorate program, but we don't really have one that's suitable. We have like an educational doctorate. And, nothing really in the humanities. So I kind of just said, well, maybe one day we'll have a PhD program. But then I was looking at the counseling program, and I thought, this would be a great program. This would be great to, learn the other side. And even if I don't know what I'm doing with it, maybe I won't do anything with it. Maybe I'll just do it just for me.
For the awareness of it, huh?
Yeah, for awareness, and just to prove to myself that I can get through it. And I can do. I'd love to be able to. I mean, if I had a genie to grant me a wish, I would want to get a big plot of land and have all these different areas for meditation and for therapy and yoga, and just like a healing center, not a hospital or a clinic or or a psychiatric ward, or
just somewhere to go for 2 weeks and smell the roses.
Like a wellness retreat center.
Right.
I would love to be able to start something like that,
where they could attend yoga classes in the morning and go birding.
Yeah. and no pharmaceuticals.
Right.
Just helping people work through things.
So how long do you think it's going to take you to get your master's in this field?
This program is quite a bit longer than the Micronesian Studies program.
Okay.
It's a 63 semester hour program, so it's like doing the Micronesian program again twice.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Except with no thesis. It's not a thesis writing. You take a lot of. You do internships.
Oh, okay.
And you have practicums, and it's just a lot of practicing and interning and working hands-on. It's very hands-on. I'm on the 3-year plan, so it's going to take me at least 3 years.
Okay.
I took one class last semester and one class this semester as a non-degree seeking student while I apply for admission, for formal admission, which I just got granted 3 weeks ago.
Wow. Congratulations.
And, I was admitted to my program for the fall semester coming up in August. So as of August, I will be in the program, and I'm just going to take 2 classes every semester. It's going to be fall, spring, summer, every fall, spring, and summer for the next 3 years.
Wow.
Yep. And I'm looking forward to it because I want to integrate my creative arts into my practice.
Interesting. How do you plan to do that?
Dancing, music, painting, gardening. My boyfriend and I are buying a really nice property in North Fort Myers, and we're going to have acreage and lots of space for growing our own food and having drum circles. And I have a friend that teaches yoga that likes to teach outdoor yoga. And there's just so many things that we want to do with that space.
Right.
You know. So
very good. That sounds wonderful.
Yep.
This is Rlene Live, and we've got more coming up in just a moment.
What's up, fellow online addicts? I'm Asha, and it's literally my job to scour the internet every day to see what you guys are saying about our stories and to see what you're snarking on. If you got beef with a particular island issue, we'll give your voice an extra boost on Trend Spotting. It's our weekly rundown of everything that's got you buzzing and what conversations you can't look away from. From the serious to the silly, from ludicrous news to legit headlines, from the weirdest Instagram posts to the most retweeted stories to the insane DMs we get, we're going to show you the deeper side of what's making group chats, what's trending, and what you're sharing. So check out Trend Spotting on YouTube, on Facebook Live, and on IGTV, all at KUAM News. If you've got something to say, sound off. We'll find you. And now, back to your show right here on the KUAM Podcast Network.
Now, more Rlene Live on the KUAM Podcast Network.
Yeah, I like your idea of incorporating the arts part of your background into therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the people, the populations I would like to work for, that I would like to help, women who survived sexual abuse, women who have worked in the sex professions, queer, bisexual, gay, transgender, questioning, sexual identity, cultural identity, and just a lot of the life experiences that I've had, a lot of the things that I've had to work through, all the things that have come up that I've sort of acknowledged to myself, and in the process of finding myself and fully accepting myself. Because, even though I'm a badass and I was a stripper on Guam and I'm very flamboyant, there was always kind of a part of me that was sort of insecure and, a little bit apprehensive because of some stuff that happened when I was little.
I was going to say, where did that come from?
Yeah, from childhood. Yeah.
Child abuse?
I wouldn't say abuse, but it was psychological sexual abuse.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was very subtle, but sometimes those just subtle, where at one point in my life was like, was that really abuse? He wasn't like hitting me every day or anything. It's just one of those really subtle things, but it's so subtle and it happened for so long, so subtly, but then now I realize that really, it was abusive. So.
At least it made you feel uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. And I think, and it's interesting because I think becoming a stripper was sort of a way of validating my own sexual identity and my, projecting my own sense of sexual self in a way. I didn't know it back then. And it's interesting because in 2006, after I was in Florida for a couple of years, my friend Kelly Marsh invited me to submit a manuscript to the Micronesian Journal of Humanities and Social Sciences out of Australia. I don't know if you're familiar with that journal.
Yeah, because that's where she got her degree.
Yes, where she got her doctorate degree. And so there was a journal out of there, and there was a guy, his name was Dirk, too.
Dirk Spenneman.
Spenneman, yes. So I was emailing with him back and forth for several months, and he said, yeah, like, do a synopsis of your master's thesis. Let's turn it into a journal article. Let's turn it into an academic journal article. And it's in there. It's published. So I have my one publication that's just mine. And it's called Guam Striptease and Pacific Studies.
Yeah, I remember seeing that because he asked me to do similar with my work.
Oh, yeah. Not surprising.
Right. I actually flew to Australia and stayed in their home and interviewed him for the Eating Alta Mariana series. Yep.
Neat.
He married a really nice woman. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good.
It really makes a difference, you know, when you're married to somebody that's a good partner for you.
Oh, God, it makes all the difference in the world.
Right, right.
When you finally find someone that you feel so comfortable with, is so open and you can just be yourself and just love so freely, and then you realize that your past relationships, just, you know, the relationship I'm in now is just so much more, it's so rich with love and good feeling and chemistry and connection.
Well, I hope it continues to improve.
Yes.
What's the guy's name?
His name is Andy Johnson.
Johnson, okay. And how did you meet him?
I met him at an African drumming and dancing workshop in 2015.
Is he a drummer?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's where the drum circle's coming from?
Yes.
Yep.
You
know, I had an opportunity to MC a drum clinic last year, and I have to tell you, it was a thrill. I don't like to MC.
Good therapy.
Yeah, but I had interviewed this drummer who comes from a family of drummers, and he went to some art school in D.C. or New York, and so he's really good. And he took to my interviewing style, and he just became a believer kind of guy. And he said, would you please do me a favor and MC this clinic? And I said, oh, because you asked me. And, and it was, you know, I've always liked the drums. And I wanted my son, Spencer. I wanted my son, Spencer, to learn how to drum. And Bob is a CPA, and, you know, he likes quiet after he comes home. And he goes, well, you better pad those walls.
Yeah.
Right? But we never did. And then I was hoping Gabriel would go into it, but he wants piano, so we are into piano. But drums, oh my goodness, I had a blast.
Oh, yeah.
That was so enjoyable.
So neat.
I know nothing about the drums, but, you know, I did some profiles on the drummers, and I went one by one, and it was very exhilarating.
Is it recorded somewhere? Is it?
You know, I think it's funny because I didn't record it because I'm too busy doing the emceeing, right? And I'm really bad about.
Did somebody get a video of you emceeing?
You know, I want to say yes, but I don't
see that.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm very unscripted.
I would love to see your emceeing skills.
Yeah.
Burlesque shows are guided with there's an MC at a burlesque show. You typically have several numbers, and you have an MC in between, to carry
the program.
The audience.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Larry Franquist was very, very pleased with it, and so were the drummers. They just, it was, I think they said one of the best they'd ever had, right? And
that's so cool.
And it's so unscripted. For me, I show up and
Those are the best.
I just go with the crowd.
You're in the flow.
Yes. You can't script it. How can you script something like that? There's no way.
Nope.
No way. You got to go with each crowd dictates something from the presenter. Anyway, I wish you continued success, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm proud of you.
Likewise. It's great. I'm looking at your website right now.
Yeah.
Your gotguam.com and just kind of looking around there. And your work has always been so amazing.
Thank you. I don't update that site well or frequently, but because I'm so busy doing the work. But the KOAM will be, if you go to the SoundCloud and you log in there, and I guess I don't know how the process is, but
From KUAM.
Yeah, the KOAM Podcast Network. If you go to SoundCloud and sign in, then you get the updates as I update them. So this afternoon, after this interview, I'm going to go take a nap because I'm just still exhausted from the Saipan trip.
Oh my goodness.
I give it my 100%, which is taxing,
Oh yeah. You've never been one to give any less.
I enjoy what I do. It's been a privilege.
Yeah, it's so neat to be your friend. You and I are so different,
Yeah, but I accept people the way they are. I don't judge them. You're who you are. I'm who I am.
Yep. I love how much we've always embraced each other, and I appreciate everything you do, and it's such important work that you do. It's good to see people just taking it upon themselves,
Yeah. But likewise, Anna, to be able to be successful at what you're doing and to be able to chart your life and take control of it, that's also very successful, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you so much. It's nice to talk to you. It feels like this moment right now is, I feel like I'm recapitulating my whole life since I've left Guam, everything I did in Guam and how that came about and where I am now and all the challenges I've overcome. It's an honor to share them with you.
Oh, I'm happy that you're willing to share them with me and the listeners.
And it's not something that's easy to talk about publicly, but I think this platform, your platform, is the one for me to share it on. So
I'm glad.
So glad that you found me.
Yeah, I'm just grateful though that you're not one of these that changes your phone number, because if you did that.
No, I've had the same phone number since 2002.
Right. And I'm
the same phone number since the interview. I got this phone number as soon as I moved to Florida. But my phone number is the same.
Because otherwise I would have lost you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just make sure that if you do change it, that you update me.
Absolutely. I'm going to put you at the top of my list of friends.
I don't have to be at the top, just in the list. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go. I know that it's probably late there now. What time is it for you?
It's time for bed. It's 11:10.
Oh, yeah, time to go to sleep.
And today is Monday.
All right. So we're on a Tuesday at 1 p.m.
Yep, you're a little bit ahead.
Well, you have a good evening and rest well and continued success.
Have a good nap.
Yes. Meet you in Dreamland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I can do that.
Thank you, Anna. Really appreciate it.
Okay, Rlene. It was great talking to you. God bless you.
God bless you, too, and love you.
I love you, too.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Rlene Live on the KUAM Podcast Network. Join her every Monday for a new edition. Log on soundcloud.com/KUAM News or listen anytime. Scroll down and click on Rlene. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Email Rlene, RLENE, @RleneLive.com. Thanks for listening.